Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. Today is Monday, July 6, 2020. The time being 5 p.m. The meeting of the Greensburg Board of Works is called to order. At this time, please silence your electronic devices. To comply with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the city asks participants in this meeting to complete a voluntary anonymous survey that is available in the back of the table, or in the back of the room on the table. Brenda, roll call, please.
Jamie Kane,
Here.
Glenn Tebby,
Here.
Rodney King,
Here.
Karen Rust.
Okay, approval of the minutes from June 1st, 2020. You should have all received a copy of those from Brenda.
Just, I guess a comment after, Glenn and I were speaking before the meeting, and one of the changes that were made, the references in here on the beard policy about donating to non-for-profits. And then I spoke with Brenda about this. Maybe we can clarify this by just saying the motion was approved, or something in here where we basically mentioned that the motion was made not include, or with no reference to the donation of non-for-profit. That way it's just clear in the minutes that it was discussed. I think the chief planned to do that, but we didn't mandate it in the policy, just something of that.
Yeah, I don't think it's, I mean, you did mention it, but there's no way for us to enforce that. I mean, it's not in our policy, and I don't think we had any intention of forcing someone to pay for that privilege if they complied with the policy. So
Would the
it's just a little
statement be,
confusing if it's in there. Is it part of the policy or not? Although the policy is written, it doesn't reference the policy number. It just makes a change. So I don't know if it's just a matter of maybe council can give us some guidance on how that might be best addressed.
there wasn't a copy for him.
Should we just say?
Well, you could change the would to may. Chief Bridges did mention that there may be a donation to benefit nonprofits should the officers choose to support a beard. I think that would address the concerns that you've raised. I agree with you that I think you want to be cognizant of not making it a policy, kind of in writing here.
Striking it would be as easy as anything because
Agreed.
it has nothing to do with the policy.
Yeah, I think you could strike that entire sentence and it would not diminish from your units.
Wouldn't take away from any official action.
Right, correct. So I agree. I think you could strike that sentence.
I would move that minutes be approved with amendment of striking that sentence, just referenced there.
I'll say it.
Please speak up.
The motion was made by Glenn, second by Jamie. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Up next, we have Chief Stoermer here this evening with a discussion about job description updates. Chief?
Or not to hopefully drag this out any further, we can come to some type of conclusion tonight. About the fire chief's job description in reference to there. Sadly and unfortunately, no Greensburg fire departments do currently have a bachelor's degree. That was the first question asked. Secondary is surrounding like-size departments only require a GED or high school diploma, with the exception of Columbus, Indiana. Columbus does require a bachelor's degree for their fire chief, even though they are a much larger city than us. So looking at that and looking at taking back our area, not looking at the national scope or the scope of the fire service in general, I would have the following recommendation would be to list the minimum requirements of diploma or high school, or diploma or equivalent of a GED, 5 years as per state statute, and then specialized certification as in the fire officer designation or executive fire officer. And potentially putting in some college or associate's degrees preferred but not required. Giving that the opportunity for those that do want it to succeed and to do that, as well as being responsible and respectful to those that don't have that type of advanced degree, and then hopefully through their employment here work towards that. Obviously, as you work higher into things, more and more education requirements are put on you, from school teacher to principal, or from firefighter to fire officer and things like that. You have that knowledge, and you have to get to that. But I think as a entry level, for an entry level fire chief, if that's what the best would be, I would say that if you would agree with an associate's degree or some college preferred, but not required, and then the minimum being those specialized certifications, and that's one thing I would hate to lose, because you do get a lot of information through those that will help you better do your job as a fire chief than you would just coming off the truck as a line firefighter. Any questions?
So what is it you're asking?
Basically to remove I would remove the bachelor's degree, obviously, and then replace that with basically the high school diploma or equivalent, so the equivalent of a high school diploma, and then those specialized certifications that were listed, plus the 5 years experience, which is in state statute, and then obviously take input on listing some college and or an associate's degrees preferred but not required.
I think that's where it's like,
Is there, you guys want to make a motion for that? Or do you want
I'd
see
like
it
to
in
have
writing?
I'd like to have a final copy to see what I'm actually saying yes to, rather than just a discussion. So if he could send out that, we can finalize it next month. Again, not to drag it out, but I just think that's prudent for us to have something that we've seen before the cities.
Okay.
That's my thought. The rest of the members, if they're comfortable, then they're the majority.
Rod, you okay with that?
Mhm.
Okay. Chief, can you send that over to
Absolutely.
everybody? We're good. All is okay? Thanks, sir.
Real quick, Chief, just one, I think where we were going with that was a great idea, so maybe we could look, how do we set up a training program for maybe setting up our officers, or officer candidates, people that wanna get into being an officer? How do
It's
we
already
start
in place, and
grooming?
I would entertain you to come by, and I'll show you what we're doing.
Okay, thank you.
Well, let me pursue one question for the board. Thank you.
You're welcome.
How do we make a change for the city of Greensburg that we encourage our employees who are going to take a major position to prepare themselves for the position by pursuing further education, to be able to do that position better, so that we're not like other cities, but we're more ahead of them. We're more progressive.
I think we just did. Okay, the requirements that are listed there are some additional certifications that Chief could name them, along with saying that we do give preference for associates or college training or other kinds of training would be preferred. So I think we did make that first step in encouraging that. If your question is how do we facilitate that even more, that's sometimes a budget question. It may be a question of time off for educational effort within a certain area that's desired or needed. I don't know, those are other kinds of issues that involve budgetary questions as well as workload and numbers of people and allowing for want to be able to do that, even maybe on.
No, I
city
just
time.
think back to when I was teaching, same thing for you. If you wanted to be an administrator, you had to go back to school
Yeah.
and get the certification to do that.
Yeah. And I don't know how you did it, but I did it a long time.
This was, I mean, that was the exact point I was just making with the chief, was how's the succession plan going, right? How are we gonna groom those people to achieve, maybe that's not the requirement, but it's something that's gonna allow them to stand out, right? And
So
then-
what happens the next time that after Chief Stoermer decides to retire from Greensburg, and we get applications from people from Greensburg, and you've got 2 or 3 people who have more education than someone else, and then you go ahead and hire someone else who doesn't have that education, then you just told them that education didn't count for anything. Because it wasn't a requirement.
I mean, I hope if we can build up the skill set to where we could make that a mandate, then great. But right now, if we went and put that in as a mandate, just like Chief mentioned, if he were to leave, nobody else is qualified in our current department to take that role. Based on, if we
Well,
made that
that
mandate.
may be true,
So,
but when I went to my school for the first time, there weren't other people in that school who wanted the job. They couldn't take somebody from that school because they weren't licensed. So sometimes you have to look outside, and when you look outside, you bring in new people with new ideas. We don't do it the same old way, and the same old way, and the same old way. It's called progress.
Well, I'm hopeful, I think next year's budget probably has, and I don't have that number specifically, but I think it probably has more money set aside for continuing education and furthering education than any budget that's been, for employees across the board, than any budget that's been proposed before.
I like your thinking.
So I'm hopeful between police, fire, I know Brenda's got some in there, and I'm sure the other departments do in some capacity as well, of how do we help our employees. To Glenn's point, he did it on his time and his dime. How do we maybe not give them time, or they can go during the workday as part of a furthering education type thing. But I know we've got a lot of money set aside for that in different departments on a specific basis. So maybe we can start there.
I like your thinking.
I think we'll probably need a motion to table that.
Yes, please.
A motion to table Chief Stoermer's discussion
Well,
on.
it was tabled once, we haven't really brought it back up, did we?
Well, I was gonna say, procedurally, I'd feel better if we had a motion in the minutes. I agree with you that it was tabled previously, and he didn't resubmit anything, but it was still on the agenda,
Okay,
so.
I would move we table the, job description for the fire chief. The,
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay.
just clarification, the agenda says fire inspector and fire chief, but fire inspector is a moot issue, right? That's
Correct,
not-
that's been approved, that was
Yeah.
approved last meeting.
That's what I thought, so
Yes.
it's just a typo.
Yes.
Okay, up next we have Chief Bridges. First up, the disposal of equipment. You all should have received a letter from him explaining what he is getting rid of. Good evening.
Good evening. For the equipment, we have several monitors and computers that we have had for several years. As far as the monitors, those really are needed to be pretty much destroyed because at the police department, unfortunately, some of them were dispatched still, and those monitors stayed on 24/7, so they are definitely well past life. As far as the computers, we have taken all the hard drives out of the computers, and we are actually formatting those, and we are using the hard drives for cell phone downloads and investigations. So we're able to actually reappropriate some of that equipment. But like I said, all we have is the shell now, no components. So I'm just asking permission to get rid of everything and have it destroyed.
How were you able to clean the hard drives?
We have a system with PD that can wipe it clean.
Any further questions for the chief on that? Take a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve disposal of equipment.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Just a quick update on fireworks, because I know that's been a hot topic over the past couple months. In May, April, we had 3 fireworks complaints. In May, we had 40. And then from June 1st to June the 18th, we had 3. So I know there's been a lot of people thinking that we are not enforcing. We are actually going around trying to educate the public, letting them know when they can and when they cannot. I can tell you that Indianapolis has seen a 700% increase in fireworks calls. I think that this is unfortunately a bad year to even implement the ordinance, but hopefully next year will be better. But I just want to let everybody know that we are out there, we're responding, we're educating, and letting people know that there is a city ordinance in place. Kind of like the new cell phone ban that has been put in law in July. That's one thing that our officers are going to do. We're not going to ticket right away. We're actually going to educate and let people know, because unfortunately some people just don't realize. So just want to kind of give an update on the fireworks, that we are responding and trying our best. So,
I have a question.
yes.
How many repeat offenders are you finding?
Very little. And the bad thing that we're running into is by the time the officers are getting the calls, they might be a couple miles away. And as we all know, when the fireworks are going up the air, with our houses being so close together, it's hard to pinpoint actually what house they're coming from. With the scanner apps that people now have on their phone, they're listening, so they know when they get called in, they stop. So when officers get there, it's kind of hard to tell. But we are, like I said, we are responding. I'm sure that there are repeat offenders, but I know there's a gentleman on Forsyth Street that's called in several times, and I spoke to my officers, and again, they say they get there and they just don't know what house it's coming from. They tried, but, and of course, the south end of town, you got a lot of houses that are close together, so.
Is there some sort of fine or
Yes.
something if you are a repeat?
Yeah, actually, yeah, it doesn't even have to be a repeat. Yeah, you could be fined, actually, like I said, first time going out there. I spoke with council about that. It's one of those things to where we would maybe have to go after maybe garnishing of wages or something if they do not pay. So that's one thing that we are looking at there, so,
Is it being enforced in that way?
yes.
Any other questions for Chief on that topic? Okay. Interview for new hire.
Asking for interviews for new hires. I did not know what everybody's schedule looked like, possibly the last week in July. I already got one problem. The problem we're running into with this process, which is a great problem to have, we're gonna be interviewing about 18 candidates, and we are gonna have a hard time deciding to pick. So we have a lot of great applicants in this, so that's what we were looking at doing, is hiring the one from the spot that we have open currently. And with this being such a positive process, we're looking at, if we do have a really good second candidate, we're looking at maybe offering them a conditional offer for next year for an officer that is retiring. We could put this person on as a reserve and go ahead and get all the testing done. That way when the officer retires, they can just slide into their spot. So like I said, it just depends. I'm only looking at possibly sending 4 or 5 over for the,
To choose maybe one or two?
yes.
Starting the week of the 27th.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's good with
That's the
Mrs.
week-
Rust.
That's the last week of July.
I wasn't on vacation.
We can, we can even do it.
Maybe I could do Monday if I stay. If that weekend.
I don't want you to be rushed on this. So like I said, we can do the 20th through the 24th.
That's better. The 20th, we have a special city council meeting, so
If we're doing it in the evening, the 21st is not good for me.
We do 22nd or 23rd.
Good, good for me.
do you have a preference, Wednesday or Thursday?
Nope.
Let's do Wednesday then.
And I'll make sure that I get the background packets out to everybody well beforehand, so you have time to review the packets.
What time would you like to do that?
We're gonna do 4 or 5. We better have some time.
Start at like 4. I'm open to it.
Are you available for?
4:30. 4:30
busy man, I can make it.
Okay, July 22nd, 4:30. We'll do an executive session. Okay,
All right, thank you.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Superintendent Smith. Good evening.
Good evening. We have received approval from SRF. You should have received it today, I think, Mayor.
Yeah.
Okay. They had reviewed our bid documents and did a contract award approval. In other words, they looked at the contract, make sure it's all meeting state standards. So it was all approved. So we'll be bringing a contract in front of you. Finalize that probably next month, construction. Tonight I'm bringing before you the contract administration services and construction observation services by Strand. The project's supposed to last approximately 6 months, or that's how long the contractor has to get it done. They based their construction observation on 20 hours a week for 26 weeks. If the contractor goes faster than that, they'll get less money. In other words, Strand will. It's just based on how many hours he needs to be there. Let's see. The contract administration services was for $55,000, and the construction observation services is for $70,000, for a total of $125,000. And that should get us through the complete construction of the plan improvements.
This is anticipation of the coming contract.
Yes, yeah. Since we got the approval from ICAM, that they, on their end, it met all their SRF stuff that they needed for contracts. Now they'll, Strand will get the final contracts with CH&M done, so I can bring those in for approval. So I'd like to have a motion to approve this task order.
I would move approval of the contract with Strand for administration of contract observation services.
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Those opposed? Okay, Nick Marsh?
Well, we did get, I might tell them,
Sure.
on, between Main Street, Lincoln, and down to the railroad bridge, we have replaced that, part of that sewer line. It's all in. We're gonna come back in a little while and put a little, we're gonna need line card, a short piece of it, but it's all in. Still got a lot of yard work to do. I'll get that now, it's starting to dry up.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. The only thing I have this evening is on August 3rd, which is the standard meeting night for Council and Board of Works, DLZ, which is the architecture firm that you all agreed to hire. When Ron and I talked about City Hall's remodel project, they will be doing a full presentation to the council. While you are the contracting body, we thought it would be good to move it to the council meeting because they have to actually approve all the bonds and loans, so they actually need to know what the money's buying. But we would invite the three of you, I hope Jamie's already there, the three of you to join us for that presentation as well. I think it's towards the middle to beginning of the meeting, so hopefully we can at 7, that's for at the council. They've been in the building 2-3 times over the last month, doing photos, measurements, all the different pieces, so they're getting it put together for us. The goal is to have a financial number for the July 20th budget meeting, but we'll see. Okay, you guys also have your packet of claims that is standard operating procedure. Any comments, questions on those? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the claims as presented? Moved by Jamie, is there a second? Second by Glenn. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Anything else for the Board of Works? Okay, with that, is there a motion to adjourn? Motion made by Glenn, is there a second? Seconded by Dee. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Wait, uh-oh.
I make apology just for one minute. I gotta have an announcement that I would like to share.
Sure.
has nothing to do with the city administration per se, but it has something to do with our community. And some of you may know this, others it might be new to you. It's a fairly new feature that the Greensburg County Public Library is offering. It's called Gale Courses, and it's a there's through their library services pool that they have this opportunity to provide instructor-led courses that provide certificate classes from which requirements for several professions, including nurses, teachers, librarians, and so on. It's available 24/7. There's more than 366 week-long online programs taught by college instructors, what some we were talking about. New courses begin each month, and lessons are assigned twice a week. You enjoy a self-paced learning environment and so forth. So I just wanted to bring that to the community's attention. I thought it's an opportunity to get it out. And I don't know anything more than what I'm reading. But if you contact the library, I'm sure they're going to be getting this information out even more publicly, or widely publicly known. But I just thought an opportunity, it's a great feature, I think, for the library to provide for a community. And I think it's really at no cost, or very minimal if there's any there at all. So just an FYI. So again, I apologize for interrupting on.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Okay, motion has been made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Hi.
Those opposed? Okay, thank you, everyone.
You made the